The trial of Laurie Shaver, well, it is coming to the close, at least as of right now, and I'm recording this on Friday afternoon, the 13th. It's Friday the 13th. I just realized that, Bob.
Mhm.
So we may have a verdict by the time you're watching this or listening to this, but we're going to give you a little rundown on what this case is all about. Of course, Laurie accused of murdering her husband, Michael Shaver, who disappeared back in 2015. 2018, Michael's remains were found buried in the backyard of their home. Not a good look if your missing husband shows up buried in the backyard. She claims that Michael left with a friend and never returned, but a lot of suspicions arose when she moved in with a new relationship shortly after his disappearance. That's kind of the nutshell of the case. Joining me, Bob Motta, defense attorney, host of the podcast Defense Diaries. And you've been covering this on your channel and even live streaming it. So what was the trial all about? And what did you see over the last few days covering it?
It was a weird one. It's like every time you just start thinking you can't see anything more bizarre and horrifying than the last thing you watched, then another case comes right down the pike. And
Yeah.
this one was, I mean, in a lot of ways, it was, kind of your run of the mill spouse kills another spouse type case.
Hmm.
But this one had X factors, as you stated. Years went by, 3 years went by after Michael kind of vanishes off the face of the earth, and his family starts receiving sporadic text messages from his phone. Uh, uh, Employers, other employees receive a couple text messages from him. There's some posts on his Facebook page. Some people receive messages from his messengers, Facebook Messenger. So there's kind of this thought that, and Laurie is, putting this story out there that he's just abandoned his family and he's gone to start a new life somewhere.
Hmm.
Um, Fast forward to 2018, as you stated, a buddy of his, an old buddy, long time buddy, calls sheriff and says, "Look, I'm not buying like that. My buddy just like vanished off the face of the earth and never is going to contact me again. If there's something off about it, I'm calling in a wellness check." So they go over to the house, knock on the door. Lois says, "Oh yeah, come on in." They search the house a little bit. As soon as they talk about going out to check out the fire pit, which is where the concrete slab was laid, and then they built a makeshift fire pit on top of it with a weird tree stump seats. Thing looks like we call it Bonehenge, which is probably in bad taste, but
Maybe they were
um,
Odinists. Maybe it was an Odinist altar.
at this point, I can't put anything past anybody. So ultimately, they end up. She says, "Get out of my house!" As soon as they bring up the concrete, uh, you know, the concrete slab, and they come back with a warrant. They start digging. Sadly, they find the remains of Michael Shaver, but yet she's not arrested for a couple years after that. So
How? How?
yeah, it's like obviously the ME cannot really give a time of death with any kind of accuracy because he's skeletal. Essentially, all they can tell is that he was shot in the back of the head. So, I mean, you've got this circumstantial case wherein common sense would seem to dictate who else would have a motive to kill him, who would bury him in his own backyard. I mean, it's like the,
Yes.
the common sense side of it is. So that's where the X factor comes in.
Okay.
So after she's arrested, it then turns out that her then 7-year-old daughter, her daughter was 7 years old in 2015. The story comes to be that her 7-year-old daughter, during the midst of this argument between Michael and Laurie, and he was out of the house at that point. The
Mhm.
story was that he came back to the house, and at that point, this huge fight erupts out in the backyard. He's getting very physical with her, and that the 7-year-old goes into the house, goes into her mom's bedstand drawer, pulls out a little pink 38 caliber weapon, proceeds to walk back out to the patio. The father, her father is still, he's seated in a lawn chair, and she walks up behind him and shoots him in the back of the head. Yeah, but the story continues to get weirder. So the man that Lori happens to be dating, this guy named Jeremy Townsend, was there that morning, as it was his habit because his kids go to the same school that Lori's do. He hears the gunshot. The story is that he walks into the house, he grabs the gun away from the child, says, take the kids out of here. I'm going to finish the job. He allegedly shoots Michael again. And by the
Rather than
time
calling
Laurie,
911?
hey, don't ask me, man.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you
Not a
what the story
deer.
is. And so by the time and the story goes, by the time that she gets back, there's no trace of Michael anywhere. And apparently, this Jeremy Townsend guy, according to the defense, has buried Michael in the backyard, unbeknownst to Laurie, who then almost a year later lays that concrete slab, and then they put the fire pit on top of it. So that's the story. That's the defense's story, and obviously the state is of the mindset that's all a bunch of bullshit. The story's ridiculous. But at the end of the day, the defense really just harped on this is a circumstantial case. You don't have anybody that saw Laurie Shaver kill anybody. You've got this injection of two other people that they're claiming are the shooters. You've got, what he considers to just be stacking of social media posts that he's saying, look, yes, there was flowers sent to her boyfriend's wife that were allegedly sent by Michael Shaver. And yes, there were messages sent from Michael Shaver's Facebook Messenger to her boyfriend's wife saying, hey, my wife's a whore and she's sleeping with your husband. I want to meet. So it's like all these things exist in the world. And, the defense is like, look, all these things may exist in the world. However, none of them make her a murderer. Like maybe she's just covering up for her daughter. Maybe she wanted to protect her daughter.
Yeah.
She's got no duty to report the crime. So yeah, it was a crazy trial. It was a
Hey, thanks for checking out the video. Be sure to follow us wherever you download podcasts, and especially Apple Podcasts, where you can get advanced episode and premium content on our premium channel right there. Also, be sure to follow us on social media so you don't miss any breaking updates on the stories that matter to you most. We're on TikTok, X, Instagram, Facebook. Just search Hidden Killers Podcast with Tony Brueski, and you'll find us right there. Again, thanks for watching.